Okay, welcome everybody. I clicked the wrong record button. So anyway, welcome to our Ask the Building webinar, a series of webinars that we give. This is Lance Luke. We have Martin Pea. We have a very timely webinar subject, top 10 CIP condo projects. And thank you for attending. I know there's people on their Zoom platform and then as well as Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, and I know there's people on this webinar that are are tuning in, watching from the East Coast, like Florida, Georgia. I have family in Statesboro, Georgia. Thank you for tuning in. Hopefully, you don't get this elements of the storm affecting you guys, but hope everybody stays safe. It's just been a hectic several years with all these hurricanes and wildfires and all that. But anyway, let's move on. This webinar is presented by National Building Expert, Ask the Building Expert series, and also presented by Construction Management Inspection, which is a local Hawaii-based construction management company. And that's probably the only commercial I'm going to give for that. Let's get right to it. CIP could stand for, well, in this case, it stands for Capital Improvement Projects, but you could similarly use the term construction projects. So we're going to be talking about the top 10 construction projects in condo properties or condo buildings. And although the focus is on condos, what information I'm gonna present to you applies for any kind of building, be it apartment building, office building, hotels, industrial, warehouses, any type of building, shopping centers and so forth, right? So have you ever like driven around a neighborhood and then all of a sudden you see a house and you might say to the people in your car, "Wow, that house doesn't look that well preserved. It looks kind of abandoned. Look, there's paint peeling. The roof needs work. Looks like there's termite damage or wood rot. So it's pretty obvious, right? And you might say, "Oh, yeah, looks like the house is abandoned. No one's taking care of it." Okay, so these are obvious telltale signs of a house, but what are the obvious red flags or telltale signs in a condo building, like a townhouse or even a high rise? In a high rise building, you may not be able to see everything, like you can't see the roof, condition of the roof, and maybe the top 20 or 20 floors or so it's hard to see from the ground, right? So it's a lot easier to take a look at a house, single family house or duplex than it is a large condo building, because a lot of things are hidden, covered with paint and so forth. So we're going to be talking about some of these major construction projects that need to be done. The other thing to keep in mind is that in Hawaii in the 60s, 70s, and partly 80s. So 1960, 1970, 1980s, that was when the development was in its heyday, and there was a lot more condos being built during that time period. Okay, so imagine the majority of condo buildings, several thousand condo buildings were built in the 60s, 70s, and part of the 80s. Okay, so how old are those buildings now? So you have to keep in mind that these buildings are 40, 50, 60 years old plus. So it's just like a human or a car, it always needs some maintenance, right? You can't just drive a car without changing the oil and just keep putting gas in. Eventually your car will break down. So buildings are the same way. So we're looking at the top 10. There's more than 10, by the way. And they're not in any particular order, um, in any kind of order based on the number of like elevators that need to be done in most buildings, or the major costs. So they're not in any particular order. Every building's different, and every building has different building components. So some buildings don't even have elevators. A 3-story apartment building walk up, there's no elevator. Okay, or it could be a condo, or townhouse projects. You could have 50 buildings in a huge acreage, and there's no elevator, right? So your top capital improvement project is not going to be an elevator repair. It's going to be something else, like roofing or wood repair, painting. Okay, so let's talk about elevators, because a lot of buildings have elevators. Elevators don't last forever. Um, if you look at your reserve study or talk to, elevator professionals, probably at the 30-year, 35-year mark, that's when you really start, looking seriously at doing major repairs. And some buildings are so old, you cannot do major repairs anymore. They don't make the parts. And so the recommendation is to just go in and replace the entire elevator. Now, it's very tricky to do that, because if your building is old and you only have 2 elevators and you use both, and one or more elevator breaks down, now you're really stuck. So the timing has to be there. 2 elevators, you're gonna replace one of them, the other one has to still be working. And we're talking a lot of money. 2 elevators is going to be over $1 million. And by the way, it's not really replacing an elevator. It involves these components talking to each other. And what I mean by that is you have your fire alarm system connected to your elevator. And in cases where the building has a sprinkler system, it's all tied in together. Sprinkler system tied into your fire alarm system, tied into your elevator. So the code requires that in the event of a fire or a fire alarm, the elevator actually stops and goes all the way to the bottom, to the lobby level, and that's it. It's not working. That's why there's signs, and people tell you, in case of a fire, do not use the elevator, use the emergency stairway, because the elevator may not be working, or if you go into it, it may be stuck somewhere, right? Chances are it might go to the bottom and the doors open up, but what if it goes to the bottom and the doors don't open? So no one wants to be trapped in an elevator. So all high-rise buildings should have in the reserve study a line item to repair or replace your elevator. And it's very costly, as you know, because it's a mechanical system. It's known as vertical transportation. So if people say vertical transportation, you think, oh, what is that? SpaceX or flying to the moon? No, in a building, that means an elevator. It also could mean an escalator too. Now, a horizontal transportation is, when you go to those airports and instead of walking miles and miles to your gate, you got these little, pedestrian movers, or I don't know really what the term is, but it actually saves time. But I learned that it's going to save time because the thing moves so slow. You have to get on it and you have to still walk, because if you just stand still, it's not really saving you much time. I could walk faster than somebody standing in that thing and waiting for the thing to move. But we've been to large airports where they had like 20 of them just trying to go to your gate. So that's one elevator. You might say, well, what's next? Well, roof repairs. Okay. So there's many different types of roofs, roof design, and the cost can fluctuate based on the requirements, the type of roof you have, the damage, and where. If it's just a repair, it could be minor. If in the reserve study, it says your roof's going to last 30 years, and then now it's 40 years and you never did anything, well, you're overdue. So high-rise buildings, for the most part, there's flat roofs, and there's different roofing types to use. There's liquid applied, there's roll roofing, and then the other, like townhouse buildings, most of them have a gable or hip type roof, and they have asphalt shingles. Okay, and there's many different types of shingles. And lately, maybe about 10 years ago or so, they came out with solar reflective shingles, which is good for energy saving. And now they have actually solar shingles. So each shingle is like a separate solar panel. I haven't really done much research on that. I wanted to use it on my own house, but I was too scared to be the guinea pig. So maybe, well, Martin just fixed his roof. So I was going to ask him to be the guinea pig first, because if the thing doesn't work, then, because there's problems. So roof repair could be very costly. As you know, in a high-rise building, it could run 100,000 to 600,000 or more. And if you have townhouse buildings, depends on the number of buildings, 20 plus buildings, it could be more than $1 million. So this is huge capital expenses, right? And here's a takeaway on roof repairs. Allow for extra costs for unforeseen repair work, such as if you're in a high-rise building with a flat roof, you could have spalling repair if there's leaks or cracks in the concrete. So now it's not only replacing the roof, but now you have concrete repair. Or what about equipment? You have roof vents and so forth. If those are all rusty, that's the time to replace them. Now, in an asphalt shingle roof, you have your plumbing vents, you have your roof vents, flashing, all other components, as well as when you strip off all the shingles to bare wood, oh, look, we have all this termite damage and wood rot. Now, you have to allow for that repair too. So if you only have money to fix your roof and not fix the wood rot, then you're going to be stuck. So be sure to plan for extra costs. Okay, so this is one of my favorite subjects, concrete spalling repair, painting. Now, they go hand in hand. Why? Because when you fix the concrete, you don't want to leave bare concrete there, especially on a high-rise building. There's no way your building maintenance guys can paint the building. They're not going to go hang 40 stories off the building to paint. Their insurance doesn't cover that. So very briefly, I'm not going to get into a lot of details here, but concrete spalling repair, the building's made with reinforced concrete. Concrete doesn't last forever. It's porous. It's not waterproof. If anybody tells you that the concrete is waterproof, don't believe them. That's why you have to paint concrete. Okay. Now, you might say, "Oh, what about the concrete used in Rome? I don't see it painted, and the thing's still lasting." I mean, these buildings were built thousands of years ago, thousands, and we have a 30-year-old building in Hawaii that has spalling repair and needs to be repaired. And I go to visit the Colosseum in Rome, and it looks in pretty good shape, right? That's because it's made out of blocks, right? Solid blocks. There's no rebar in it that can corrode. So what is the cause of spalling? It's mainly the reinforcing steel called rebar that gets wet and it starts corroding. And when it corrodes, it has someplace to go and it starts cracking the concrete. Okay, so if you look at the image on the left, it's leading edge. Leading edge is the edge of that lanai slab. Look at it as you have a table, right? The edge of the table is called a leading edge, and that's where your railing is connected to. Now, if the leading edge fails, guess what? Your railing's going to topple over. And so that's not a good sign. So several months ago, there was a hotel in Waikiki where the railing had just fallen off on the fifth floor. Good thing nobody got hurt. It landed on the beach in the sand. So that's leading edge. And then there's a full depth, a spall, and the full depth is a spall, a repair that goes all the way through. This is a lanai slab we're looking at of a hotel. Um, and I was below that floor that they're working on, and that's how I took the picture. And it's scary. Because can you imagine if someone was walking on that and fell right through, right? They would get hurt, or somebody on the bottom got hit in the head with a 12-pound piece of concrete. So that's what a full depth spar repair is. A partial depth is it doesn't go all the way through the floor. Okay. Now, if you have a wall, that's called a vertical spall, like in the photo on the right. Okay, they're repairing walls, and they call that a vertical spall. So I think out of all the buildings and the projects, I think the concrete spalling is probably the number one if I had to make a list of repairs to condo building. Okay, now spalling even affects townhouses. Yesterday, I was at visiting a townhouse, inspecting a townhouse in Pro City area, and they have these block tile foundation, and those are spalled too. Okay, so spalling can occur anywhere. If you own a house and you have a concrete driveway or concrete walkway, you could have spalling in those areas also. Waterproofing. Waterproofing actually ties in with the spalling, because if you have a parking deck or walkways or stairs, you could have spalls there. And a lot of times when I inspect cracks to old parking deck or stairways, either the stairways were not painted, and that's what caused the spalls, or they were, but the painting had failed, or the waterproofing had failed. So I have some photos here of parking decks that one is at grade. That means it's right, like where you walk, and the left side bottom is a below grade, where the guy's in the pit and waterproofing that wall. And then the other photo is part of a parking deck, and they have to repair spalls before they can apply the waterproofing. Now, the waterproofing coating only lasts 5 years, okay, or that's the warranty. You probably can get an extended warranty, but not more than too much longer than 5 years, maybe 7, 8 if you push it. But it has to be inspected all the time, and there's different types of waterproofing products to use, and for different reasons. But the takeaway on this is, if you're in a condo building that has a parking deck with waterproofing, and a lot of cars are parked there in their various stalls, make sure that the management inspects. Because once you have oil dripping on the waterproofing, oil is gonna eat up the waterproofing, and now you have to do a repair. And a repair is very costly. So there was one parking stall a month ago that I inspected that had oil stain damage, and I asked the contractor for a price to repair it, and the quote was $1,500. And now that unit owner who parks in that stall, who theoretically owns the stall, is going to pay for the repair. He's going to get billed because in the condo house rules, you're not supposed to have oil dripping, on the parking deck. He has a right to use the stall. He owns the stall, but he cannot fix it himself. We need to hire a licensed contractor so we can maintain the warranty. Okay, next item, cast iron drain piping, DWV. What does that stand for? Drain waste vent. And so it's not only one pipe. It's not only the drain pipe. The drain pipe is you flush your toilet and water waste goes down the drain. That's your drain pipe. I mean, sorry, let me back up. The drain pipe is a storm drain. So in a high-rise building, you have a pipe up on the roof. Okay, you have like a catchment on the roof, so when it rains, water doesn't flood the roof. So water drains down. This is rainwater now, storm drain, draining down, and the pipe goes through the building. That's your drain pipe. Okay, your waste pipe is when you flush your toilet. That's the waste pipe. People get confused when people say it's a drain pipe. Well, there's two types of drains. There's one for storm water, rainwater, and there's one for wastewater. Okay. And both of those pipes are in the building. It could be embedded in concrete, in your floor, in your ceiling, in your wall. And then the V stands for vent pipe. So when you have drain pipes, you need some air to go in it. So those vent pipes would go from the roof all the way through the building, down to the ground floor. So that's DWV. And this is a major undertaking because you're not working on the outside. You have to go into the contractor has to go into each unit, the interior of the unit, where all your plumbing fixtures and drain pipes are, and replace those pipes. It's a very intrusive type project. I just finished two within the past several months of high-rise condo buildings. And then there's a method called pipe lining. So instead of replacing the pipe, the contractor would clean the pipe and then line it. So they put in this epoxy base liner inside the old pipe, and after it should be good as new. But caution, just be aware that the contractor has to follow the right specs. Otherwise, the whole project is not going to work properly. It could lead to failure. Okay, so think twice, ask professionals about pipelining before you decide to go that route. In some cases, it's easier. Like if you're doing pipelining in throughout your asphalt parking area underground, okay, that's not too bad. But inside a building, be very careful. Okay, we have next fire life safety. There's a lot of different components that comprise or fall under the fire life safety category, such as fire doors, emergency lighting, fire alarms, smoke alarms, fire and smoke dampers, fire escape systems, which, by the way, your fire escape system is all your fire exit stairways. Okay, that's your fire escape system. Fire extinguishers and fire sprinklers. So small dollar amounts for fire doors, emergency lighting, smoke alarms. We're missing smoke detectors, but that may be in the next slide. So the major costs here is fire alarm system and fire sprinkler system. That's your major cost. It could run into millions of dollars depending on the size of your building. So, um, in your condo reserve study, you probably have a line item for fire alarm system upgrades or replacement, but there's no line item for fire sprinklers. Why? Because if the building was built without fire sprinklers were not required by code at the time, so therefore it's not in the reserve study. Okay, but lately, insurance companies are going to be requiring fire sprinklers, even if the Honolulu city ordinance doesn't really require it right away. Okay, so it's going to get to that point. So I would advise uh, condo associations to talk about it and start reserving for it. Uh, Window replacement. If you're in an old building, you have non-safety type glass. When it cracks, it just needs sharp pieces of glass. Older buildings, some windows they're open too wide, and kids could fall out. Or you have a low window wall where you have a casement type window and it opens too wide. Or you have old jalousies that the clips are old and broken and all that, and pieces of glass slats start falling out. I remember I got this call to inspect this condo building by the Alawai, and the manager said, "Oh, can you come out and check our windows?" I said, "What's wrong with it?" He said, "Well, it's old. The clips are getting loose, and once in a while we have pieces that fall out." And so we're walking on the parking deck, and I heard a glass break, and he said, "Oh, that's what I'm talking about." So we walked over, and two pieces of jalousie slats had fallen out and landed on the parking deck. It cracked. So I said, "Can you imagine if it landed on somebody, serious injury?" Okay, so that's why window replacement is critical, not only because of safety, also because there's reported every time it rains, water starts leaking into the inside of the units. So uh, that's a red flag going, well, I think it's time to either replace your windows or recaulk, right? But you better have somebody do an inspection. Next item, railing replacement. Sometimes that goes hand in hand with spalling repair. If your building is so old, you're doing spalling and your railing is corroded beyond repair, that's the time to do your replacement, because they have to chip out all the old railing. And once you start chipping out concrete, that's the same as doing spalling repair. So you don't want to do spalling repair first and then a year later you go back and do your railing. That doesn't make any sense. So there's different types of railing. There's glass railing, metal railing, there's surface mounted type metal, there's embedded type metal railing or aluminum. And there's also PVC railing. I don't really recommend the PVC type, although I've seen some of those. I'm just concerned about it's hard plastic. Concerned about it warping or just not lasting too long, like your aluminum or stainless steel type railing. So railing replacement is a key. Plan for that. Now, if you're in a townhouse, there's also railing replacement if your railing's made out of wood, because it doesn't last forever. The pickets get rotted. You know where the nail or the screw holes are, water collects there, and eventually you have rot around your fastener, and now there's a screw there, but it's not doing anything because the hole around the wood is bigger than the head of the screw. Okay, so that's something to watch out for. Asphalt roads. How many condos townhouse projects have you driven across, and they got these potholes and large cracks and all that? So there's a way to do spot repair, replace the potholes and do crack sealing and all that, but after a while, there's only so much you can do. If it's far beyond its life, then you talk about resurfacing. Resurfacing means to just excavate everything down to the sub base, down to soil, original soil, and then start all over so you have a new road. That's resurfacing. Okay. If you're just doing an overlay, which you have existing asphalt and you just add another layer over it, right? Or maybe you take 2 inches off and add another new, uh, 2 inch, 3 inch layer over that. That's not resurfacing. That's just like more of an overlay. If you're suffering from a lot of bird baths or low sunken spots because of the soil condition or heavy drainage problems, then you should look into resurfacing, because then you can set the grades correctly, make sure the drainage is proper, because it's brand new. You're not putting another layer on. If you put another layer on, you're not doing anything to the bottom layer. It's still going to be sunken dirt. Okay, so it could run you on a bigger property over $1 million to do your asphalt resurfacing. So that's another. Just think of, if you have a townhouse project, you have numerous buildings with numerous driveways and parking areas. It adds up. Electrical upgrades, you got electrical inspection, repairs, and then installation if it's new. Most people don't really do much with electrical. Let me back up here. So a lot of these older buildings, like I mentioned, built in the 60s, 70s, 80s, how many of them actually have electrical inspections? Not many, because it's like, oh, nothing's wrong with it, so we're not going to worry about it. Or, yeah, if the lights go out here or there, we call the electrician to replace some of the circuits that tripped or whatever, and then we're good as new. Okay, but believe it or not, there's a code requirement that requires all buildings, commercial buildings, to be inspected. And what does that mean? What does that mean, commercial buildings? Oh, I live in a condo, so that's not considered commercial, right? Because I live in it, it's considered residential. Okay, no, let me clear that up. If you're in a condo building, although you live there, it's residential use. By building code, it's considered a commercial building, right? So apartment buildings, condo buildings, all fall under commercial building as far as the building code is concerned. And the electrical code follows the building code. So if you're watching this webinar and you live in a condo building and your property has not had an electrical inspection, you guys are overdue, and you're actually in violation of the NEC, which is a National Electrical Code. Okay, so you might go, wow, I never heard of that before. Okay, well, it's something fairly new that we're promoting as a safety feature. We want everybody to be safe. No fires. Okay. So the word is repair now, don't wait before it's too late. Now you may say, well, yeah, that's fine and good, you're saying that, but we have no money. Okay, well, I'll talk about that in a little while. Why repair now? Martin says, oh, why should these condo owners repair? Okay, so number one, you repair, fix the building to prevent building failure or building failures. Remember, several years ago, the Florida building collapse in 2021, close to Miami. I think it was called the city of Surfside Champlain Towers. Okay, that whole half the building collapsed, right? And why? Why did it collapse? Well, it collapsed because the condo association did not fix their building. They had plans to. I reviewed a lot of documents pertaining to that collapse, and I found out that um, the association had plans to repair the building. It was $15 million they needed. 15, 1 5, right? No one has that kind of money lying around. They did not have that money, but they were planning on repairing the building. So I guess, through an assessment. The other fallacy to the building code is in Florida, in that area, the requirement to recertify your building was only 40 years. I mean, not only, but it was too long, right? So there's two certifications. One is when the building's new, the building department in that jurisdiction signed off on the building permit, inspected everything, and said, we're giving you your certificate of occupancy. In other words, you can open the building and allow people to live there. Okay. Fast forward. That building was not required to have any inspections, governmental inspections that were required until 40 years later. And I'm scratching my head going, 40 years. Now, when I look back on concrete spalling that can occur 15 to 20 years later, why is the local jurisdiction waiting 40 years to have a structural inspection done, or even electrical inspection? That's way too long, right? So that's another problem. It's the government too, right? But mostly it's the condo association. Okay, another reason you preserve and maintain the building. When you preserve and maintain the building, guess what? Your values go up. Your values, you keep the asset. If you don't fix anything, you let it run down, then the value decreases, right? And if it's a condo, you want to be able to have your unit owners sell their condos when they want and get the most money for it. And you want it to be appealing to buyers that come in, okay? Also, if you don't maintain your building now and you wait too long, you're going to end up paying way more to fix your building. Okay, the other reason to get your building fixed is, and you may not know this, but there's strict requirements of government type financing, which is considered conventional financing. So let's say you're in the market to buy a condo unit and you have a good credit score and you want to get conventional financing. In other words, you want to get a Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac type loan or FHA, VA. Okay. Now, if the condo building hasn't done repairs, or they're behind in the repairs, or their reserve fund is less than what it should be, the government is not going to finance that building. And today, there's thousands of condo projects that the government refuses to finance. And what happens if you cannot get a conventional loan? You're going to end up having to pay cash or having to get a portfolio loan, which means that the interest rate's higher and you need more down payment. So, and this is fairly recent. It just came up within a year or two that the word's gotten out. So there's condos that are basically blacklisted. They're on the list, right? If you check with your mortgage professional, oh yeah, that building is not, we can't finance that building. Oh, what about this building? Oh, we can't do that one either. So slowly, there's going to be more and more buildings that are added to the list when more information becomes available as to their reserve study, capital improvement projects. And the government asked, the question is, do you have any outstanding capital improvement projects that have not been completed, such as cast iron drain piping, roofing, spalling repair, and so forth? That's questions that they ask. And then if the answer is yes, we do, they're going to say, okay, where's the money to fix it? And what is the schedule? Are you planning on fixing it in the near future? They're asking all these questions. I've never seen it in all my years of real estate and condo construction management. For over 40 years, I've never seen it like this before. It's crazy. Okay, once again, this webinar is presented by Construction Management Inspection. I don't know how this slide got put in. I said there was only going to be one commercial. I don't know. We got another one here. Oh, by the way, since I'm talking about commercial, if you're a condo board member, property manager, if you need someone to come and check out your property, your building or whatever, give you some free advice, give us a call or email us and we'll be happy to go check your building out. I'll send Martin. He gets bored sitting at his computer. So what's my conclusion? I'm saying get your buildings fixed up. Now, here's the thing. Where's the money coming from? There's no way a condo association can raise their maintenance fee enough to cover capital improvement projects. There's no way. I've never seen that before. When you're trying to increase your maintenance fee to pay for a $1, $2, $3, $6 million project or a group of projects. Okay, so that leads us to only two methods. One is getting a construction loan, a bank construction loan, or a special assessment. And those are the dreaded two words, special assessment. No one wants to hear that. Lately, I've heard condo associations getting a special assessment to pay for increased insurance. And that's scary. Okay, so what you missed, we've given a whole bunch of webinars this past year. Let me go down the list here. We got webinars on demand that you can watch on our website. Okay, building foundation problems, managing mold in a building, condo remodeling, what to do when you need to, get your condo repaired, types of engineers for your construction project, fire sprinklers, who needs it. I gave a nice talk about the Sagrada Familia, that big Catholic church in Barcelona, Spain. That's because I visited there. And then what's coming up? Okay. What's coming up? We got, okay, I decided to do this and venture off from my usual webinars. So on August 20th, I'm giving a AMA webinar. What does that mean? AMA, ask me anything. Okay, so I'm going to open it up. I'm not even going to have a PowerPoint. I'm just going to open it up. It's a free forum. I'm going to talk about construction, condos, buildings, real estate. You want to talk about the rail, talk about condo insurance, talk about wildfire, monster houses, whatever. It's anything goes. Okay, so that's the time you can. If you don't want to ask your question live, just email your question to us in advance, and then we'll be able to talk about it. Okay, so that's something new that I'm started to do. And then we got construction terminology. What's the mumbo jumbo? I got a great one. Hawaii's condo insurance crisis, spiraling costs and market instability. Now, I've been working on that presentation for hours now because it's so current. And then another one, major disasters, history of major disasters in Hawaii. We'll be talking about tsunamis, hurricanes, wildfire. Here's another one. historical overview of coastal erosion at Kahana Sunset. That's condominium on Maui. And then here's another one. Let's talk BS. I like to talk BS, right? Oh, let me clarify. BS is building safety. I gave a seminar in San Antonio, Texas. It was a BOMA International Convention. People all over the world came, and I gave a talk about building safety. I'm revising that talk, and I'm going to repeat that one. And then I have build your home to protect from a wildfire. Um, that's I'm doing that for Lahaina, but also for uh, any state in the U.S. where they're going to rebuild because their house got damaged from a fire. And in December, home safety for the holidays, I decided to do a home safety one. Uh, I'll talk about your outdoor Christmas lighting, your Christmas tree, and all that stuff. But enough about that. Go to our website, askbuildingexpert.now. That site. If you want replays of our webinars, if you want takeaway PowerPoints, if you want free publications, we got a bunch of free books that I wrote. It's on sale. It's for sale on Amazon, but if you go to our website, you can get it free. Now, don't tell too many people I told you that, because we need lunch money from our Amazon book sales. Okay. And then we get to, you got questions, I got answers. I got my information down here. You want to contact me. But why don't we open it up to questions? And I know we have probably 10 minutes. We can tackle that. So Martin, we'll bring you on and see if we got any questions here. Before I do that, I wanna thank. I'm not going down the whole list, but there's Gail, Linda, Paula again on our Zoom platform, and then our other social media, Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube. Thanks for tuning in. If you didn't watch it, you can watch the replay. So let's tackle some questions if we have any. We got any questions, Martin?
Yes, Lance, and hopefully you hear me well so I can share the questions that have come in.
Yeah, after what, 15 minutes of trying to adjust our microphone setup? Yeah, good.
The main thing you can hear me to give you we have three questions that's come in here. So let me give you the first one. Hopefully you'll have time to answer, or this might be one of your brief answer ones. How can condominium associations effectively budget and plan for major projects like elevator modernization that you shared, and roof repairs, another thing you shared about, considering
Oh,
their
okay.
high costs and complexity?
Well, the way to do it is through your reserve study. So I would say if you're a condo owner, review your reserve study. Chances are it's wrong. And why am I saying that? Because I reviewed probably 2,000 reserve studies, and the majority of them were incorrect. Now, some of them were missing major components. Some had the wrong information, the wrong costs, replacement costs. So review it. Don't just take it for granted. Don't think that the board members reviewed it or your property manager reviewed it and it's all good. Okay, because that's where you can get stuck. Say, I'll give you an example. If the reserve study on an elevator showed that it's going to cost 600,000 to replace 2 elevators, okay, and that's what you're collecting for in your reserve. And in 2025, that's when you need to redo your elevators. Okay, so in 2025, you get bids, right? You have 600,000 in the kitty, and your bids come in at 950,000. Now, what are you going to do? Now you got to get the money from somewhere else, right? So this is a explanation of why a reserve study that's erroneous can throw everything off. Same with the roof. So these components you have to make sure you properly budget for. And I don't agree. The state law says the funding at 50%. I do not agree with state law, because if funding was 50%, when you have to do your elevator, you have 300,000, but you really need 600. Okay, so that's wrong already. Okay, so certain things should be changed, but just because you follow state law, it doesn't mean you're going to have the money, right? So it's all, the whole thing is all predicated on the money issue, financial. So make sure your reserve study is correct and you're collecting as much as you can for components. And when it comes due for repair, you have the money to fix it. The problem is when you don't have money to fix it, and then what happens? You got to get the money from someplace else. Okay. More and more condo properties are getting special assessed, and that's not right. Now, components that are not on the reserve study, such as fire sprinkler system, you can't help it. That's immediate construction loan or special assessment, because there's no money to pay for it. So that's good. What else we got?
Okay, Lance. Here's another one that came in here. It's asking, in the context of fire life safety enhancements after the Marco Polo fire, what are the best practices for condominiums to comply with fire safety regulations while managing the financial impact on residents?
Okay, after the Marco Polo fire, I interviewed um, a whole bunch of different property managers, board members. I found out that no one wanted to comply with the law. Okay, no, nobody wanted to put fire sprinklers in their building because they didn't have the money. Not because they thought that it wouldn't increase the safety of the occupants, but because it was a money issue. So that that whole thing is like throwing everything upside down. So the city council keep extending the deadline for fire sprinklers, but like I mentioned before, even if the city changed their mind and said, we're not going to require fire sprinklers, we'll give you guys a break, the insurance companies may say, if you don't have fire sprinklers, we're not going to renew your policy or whatever, right? So then it becomes an issue of, it's not mandated by government, but yet you still got to do it for insurance. So I think, word of advice to condo boards, I think you should plan on installing fire sprinklers, if not now, at least 10 years from now, or 15 years, or even 20 years from now. Get to that point. I mean, you may not be able to wait 20 years, right? I heard that from insurance people saying, if there's a fire in that particular building, we're not going to renew their insurance unless they put fire sprinklers. So that becomes a problem right now. You know, you're not forced to by government, but you're practically forced to by your insurance company. And that's a whole nother webinar I'm giving on insurance. So hopefully you guys can join me on that one.
All right, Lance, thank you. We just have one more question here that came in, and it's what are the latest technological advancements in electrical upgrades that condominiums should consider for efficiency and long-term savings?
Well, before we talk about technology advancements or anything, why don't we talk about just having inspections done? Right? If I took a poll, let's say I have 2,000 condo buildings, and I took a poll and I asked each building, did you ever get an electrical inspection done? I'm pretty sure the majority of them would say no. Why do we need it? We don't need one. Nothing's wrong, right? I even inspected condos where there was a leak in their parking deck, and there was a waterfall onto their circuit breaker box. I have videos of that. And I was saying, we should have it inspected. They go, yeah, that thing's working, so it's okay. We're just gonna wait till it doesn't work. And my response was, if you wait till it doesn't work, you have a major catastrophe. Your building's without power. Guess what? You're gonna have to bring in an emergency generator, and it may cost you $300,000 a month. And when is it gonna be fixed? Your equipment is so old. It was made in the 70s. They don't even make those circuit breakers anymore. Oh, but we can get replacements. Like, no electricians would go there and say, your system is so old, but I'll do you a favor. I'm just going to replace 2 of your circuit breakers, put in new aftermarket breakers. I think they're made in China, and we'll just, they fit, so we'll put it in, and when we turn it on, it'll be cool, right? No electrician that's licensed is going to do that. In fact, they're telling me, hey, it's all or nothing. We can't even find circuit breaker parts, and let alone if we do, guess what? They're going to sign a statement. We're going to install the circuit breakers, but there's no warranty. The only warranty we're going to give is if we replace that whole circuit breaker box with brand new breakers. Then you get the warranty. If we're going to do cut and paste kind of deal, no, all bets are off, right? We're just going to go in and fix it so you have power. After that, that's it. There's no warranty. So if the thing tomorrow doesn't work, don't call us and expect us to do it for free. Because if I was an electrical contractor, I'd say, where's your inspection report that was completed by a certified electrical inspector? If you don't have that, I'm like, I'm risking my license to go and do repairs for you. Okay, so it's critical. Now, when the roof leaks, you fix it. You have a plumbing leak, you fix it, right? You don't have any electrical problem, but yet the code requires inspections, and no one's getting inspections done. So that's becoming a big issue. So we'll see. I mean, I only can spread the word and say what best practices are, and it's up to all the condominium buildings and other buildings to follow through. So we got any other questions or comments that came up?
No, not that I've seen. Let's see. Did you check out our Zoom? I don't see any questions from any of our Zoom folks either. So right now we look good. Good
Okay, well, good.
presentation.
So if anybody has any questions after, you can post it or email us, and then we'll be happy to answer them for you. If you have any ideas on other webinars that you want us to give in the future, let us know. We'll be happy to consider it. So right now, we're actually planning webinar topics for next year already. So I mean, I have to follow Hollywood because I was at the movies Saturday, and there were previews on the screen. And going, oh, this movie looks pretty good. And then on the bottom it says coming March of 2025, and I'm like, wow, these guys plan in advance. So I figured, okay, we can do the same thing. We're gonna plan in advance, and we're gonna make the whole schedule for next year. And it's not easy putting together one webinar. There's a lot of planning, creating the PowerPoint, making the presentation and all that. Oh, by the way, before I leave, I have a book coming out tomorrow called Mindset Matters, and it's going to be released tomorrow. I'm not sure what time, but just kind of spread the word, because I'm hoping it'll be Amazon bestseller when it comes out. Okay, if it does, then I get to go to Hollywood and get my red carpet treatment and go on stage and get my trophy. I'm not really into trophies and all that, but I do want the book to be a bestseller. Then that'll be my third best-selling book. So if you follow me on Facebook or Instagram, LinkedIn, stay tuned. I'm going to be posting something about the book soon. All right. So on behalf of Martin and I and Ask the Building Expert webinar series, we thank you very much for joining us, and we hope to see you again, and keep in touch. In order for us to keep putting on these webinars, we need people to attend, because if we don't have any people watching, why do this, right? And don't be afraid to email us or get a hold of us and say, I learned something from you and it helped or whatever. Uh, those count too. We value your opinion. If it was boring, let us know too. If you think we can change stuff, we're always open. I just give those to Martin. Martin, here, fix this. They said we're boring, so what can we do to change it? So once again, thank you very much, and we'll see you again. Aloha, mahalo.